What's going on, guys? Spencer Clays here today. Very special video for you. We're on my land. Just picked this up this year, and so still trying to figure out what we're gonna do with this. So we're gonna walk, talk. Got some Nick gum. Don't usually do nicotine very often, but sometimes it's nice for making videos. Gets you kind of in the mood. So we got a lot to talk about today. About freedom, making money, traveling, the American dream, and all this sort of stuff. So how this kind of started, I'll kind of guys take you back into like a little bit about my story. If you guys are new to the channel, I run a home service business over in Seattle, Washington. Been doing that for the last almost 5 years, and it's been going really well. It's a great business. Like, we do, anywhere from 20 on a bad month up to $30,000-$40,000 per month, which obviously not all that is profit, but it has enabled a very good life for me and my family. Take these off. It's not very bright. It was kind of bright earlier today. But America's changing. It's getting a lot harder to continue to do the things that we've always done. I saw an article the other day. Seattle, like where I live, is the highest increase in inflation in the entire country. It's the steepest rise, #1 spot. And you can feel it. And so I have a 1-year-old son, planning on, having a few more kids, and there's not a place where we want to raise kids. And so getting out of the city is going to be something that's been on my mind for a long time. If you guys know me at all, I don't like the city. I don't like the very left-leaning type atmosphere, and I really don't like to get into political stuff too much, because I think it's all very stupid. Like, all these wings, like, the right wing versus left wing. It's like, we're all people. I've met so many different types of people that think this way or think that way, and the only time that I really see like people really arguing is online. It's when you don't really know somebody. Like, I have some friends that I dearly love, and they're super left, like super liberal, but talking to them, it's awesome. We have a great time. And there's obviously people I know that are even farther right than I am, because obviously I'm further right. But the point is, like, we're all just people. We're all just trying to live. We're all just trying to make money, do our thing. And when I say make money too, that's another thing I really wanted to kind of dive into, because for the last few years, I've been making money with my hands. As you can see, got some calluses. And that's awesome, because we're about to build. Like, we can walk around a little bit more. We got 5 acres here in central Washington. You can kind of see the mountains in the backdrop. That's the Cascade Mountains. So we're thinking about building I really want to build an earthship out here. That'd be super sweet. Just up on this hill. Have like some south-facing windows, and so I'll keep you guys tuned up on that, like whatever we end up building, because I still think the American dream is here. I think it's just changed a lot. And so if you look at history, it's undeniable that see, this camera's like really close. No, I gotta hold this tripod like far, so I might go sit down again. It's undeniable that the boomers had the best come up in the history of America. Like, there was almost not a single wealthier time in our history. We had just won World War II, so that's when the silent generation had the boomers. And so post World War II, America was the superpower. We had all the money, all the guns, the weapons. We could do anything. And so what we decided to do is consume. We had all these factories that were meant to make weapons and guns and bullets, and all of a sudden the war ended, and so now we're like, well, shit, what do we do with all these factories? So they moved to making goods and consumer stuff, cars, microwaves, fucking toaster ovens, all this shit. And so this is kind of the 50s, and then kind of 50s and 60s. This is when, like, the Mad Men era. We have to sell all this shit. We have to get people to buy stuff. We have to get people content or discontent with their current lives, and be sold this idea that we need to buy more things to become happy, which, that worked because everyone had a lot of money. Like, you could buy a fucking house for, what, 5-10 grand? So it worked very well. Like, people had a lot of money, more than ever before, right? It's just very unprecedented. And so then this brings us into the 60s, the Mad Men era. And I'm not a history buff. I'm not super hard on these facts, but this is a cool little stump. Just kind of sit over here. Just kind of set that up. And so 60s, so we're buying shit, buying a lot of stuff, and we're still going to war. We're still making a lot of interesting decisions about America because we can do anything. We need to make more money. I mean, not make more money, but we have to use all these weapons. So we joined Vietnam. We have to do all this bullshit, and a lot of people got really mad at that because it's the first time that the war started to be televised. People could see people dying, and so that changed the game really. So they had to know. So the people in charge. And that's another thing too about this channel. We're not super into conspiracies. It's not like, oh, there's some massive person out to get you. It's not whatever power that be. At the end of the day, you have self-control. You have free will from God. You can literally do whatever the fuck you want. You know, yeah, there's certain groups of people that don't have your best interest in mind. In fact, most people don't. No one really gives a shit about you or me. No one cares if you live or die. That's one of the only things that I really remember my dad teaching me. And so, anyway, so this brings us to the 70s, and this is where we got off the gold standard. And because we're printing so much money, we needed more money for whatever fucking bullshit. I think it was Vietnam, but you know, again, not super versed on the facts. I just know the general vibe, and I've listened to it, and I've seen enough and read enough. So this is when we got off the gold standard. So I don't know much about currency, but this is when things just got crazy. We started printing money that wasn't backed by anything. It wasn't backed by dollars, and so, I mean, it wasn't backed by gold. And so what we did was we made a deal with the Saudis and the Arabs, like, hey, only American dollars can be used to purchase gold. And so this kind of enabled America to still be the superpower. We are still, like, American dollars are still at the very top. And as you guys can see, this is changing very fast. So this brings us into, you know, the 80s, 90s, still pretty economically prosperous, but you can definitely see where the money stops going as far. This is where, you know, 80s, because yeah, back in the 50s, 60s, 70s, a man could work any freaking job. Like, my dad used to work at a shoe store and was able to buy a house and have a family for his 2 kids. And then he got a government job, and then he married my mom. So that was a previous marriage. And so he was able to still support us, but my mom didn't have to work. But then she ended up having to go back to work. And so 80s was kind of when women had to start working and to be able to afford the same quality of life. And then by the 90s and 2000s, pretty much, like, the woman had to work part-time at least, and then the man had to work full-time. Now, obviously, the woman has to work full-time, the man has to work full-time just to barely scrape by. I've seen enough headlines that consumer debt it's the highest it's ever been. They're printing more money. Inflation is literally out of control. And it's very, very interesting times. Very scary if you're just like I graduated college a couple years ago and got a kid, got more on the way, God willing. And so it's just a very interesting time. Because now, how is anybody, like, I make multiple 6 figures a year. Not to brag, this is not, like, I'm by no means having, quote unquote, made it in the American lifestyle. Like, you literally need to make like $300,000 a year. I think in Seattle it's like 220, 300 to be, like, well off, to be above the freaking middle class. Like, I think 200K is, like, still considered middle class. Like, poverty, I want to say, is like 60K and below. So those numbers just do not work with any sort of, like, thing that we were told growing up. And this is the thing that pisses a lot of people off, pisses me off. Like, we were just told, like, oh yeah, just get a good job, you'll be fine. You can buy a house, retire, have kids, whatever, do all this shit. And I mean, from a very early age, I could see that all that was kind of dumb. Like, I don't want to work a job. Like, I saw my dad working at the same the government. He worked for the government for 40 years after that. And very boring. Like, I just saw it. He was just bored. And so he didn't really complain because, you know, boomers, they just kind of showed up, did their thing, didn't really care, you know, they didn't really. We're not going to go into boomers too much here today, but, like, now we're just getting into a spot where I'm able to work full-time. My wife hasn't had to work the last 2 years, but we're getting to a spot where if we want to be able to buy a house, she's got to have to work. She's going to have to work, and that's just like a weird conversation now where I have to be like, hey, in order to fulfill the American dream, we have to work more, we have to do all this shit. And one of my buddies, one of my really good friends, just traveled to Ukraine and the Philippines for the last year. He's been on the road. He went to law school, he went to college, got a bunch of student debt, so that's another great conversation we can have in a little bit. But traveling, like, dude, he told me like, man, I've spent like 15K the last like entire year just like living abroad, and that just blows my mind because that's like our monthly expenses here in Seattle. Now we don't spend a ton of money. We got a Tesla, we got a decent car, and that's great. But by no means are we going out buying a bunch of shit. And it's just we don't have the money to buy a freaking house. That's the kind of the point I'm getting at, which is a weird thing to admit as a man when you can't like do the things that you were going to be able to do. You were told that you could do. Like I make double the money that my dad was making at my. Actually, I don't even want to get it like the numbers. I remember looking at his tax returns when he was like my age. In inflation, it's very hard to know like what it even means, because I saw in the 70s he was making like $10,000, $12,000, $14,000 per year, and we do that in a month, you know. But he was able to buy a house. Now we're looking at houses that are $700,000 as like a minimum house over in by Seattle. Mortgage payment would be like $5,000 plus. You're paying $1,500 that to interest, and it just doesn't make any fucking sort of logical sense. And so the only conclusion that I've come to is that we got to build something super cheap here, build it ourselves, build it ideally away from the city, which is what we've done. We found a beautiful piece of land here, which we got from a family member. It was a great deal. Really couldn't say no. We picked up 5 acres here. Very thankful that this kind of came up, because I kind of got obsessed for a few months. And so this is for anyone watching this. If you're like, shoot, what do I do? Like, how do I take action? Like, what do I do? I would just start talking about it. Just be like, hey, where the fuck is land? Where do you want to live? Start looking on Zillow. I was on Zillow every single day. I was writing handwritten letters to anybody who had land. I was also scrolling through like just random plots of land. I would just look on Onyx. It's like a hunting app. You could see where just like there's a plot of dirt where there's nothing on it, no structure. And so I was writing letters. We checked out some properties, but this ended up just popping through, and you know, we pulled the trigger on it. And so this is awesome. Very excited to potentially set something up. And so that's kind of the only logical conclusion I've reached. If you guys have any, what you guys are planning on, just leave that down below. Maybe we can go into that in a separate video. But the only logical conclusion is build a business that you can run, ideally a little bit remotely. Like now I have guys I can subcontract almost all the jobs to, so I don't have to personally be in Seattle, and I can still make money there, and I can live, you know, we're like 2 hours away now. So have a place where you can make money in America, live somewhere else, build something yourself super cheap. And obviously, you know, cheap is relative. It's nothing here is cheap. Like literally prices, even in the middle of the state, like we're in the middle of nowhere, it's like quintupled in the last like 5 years, because ever since the remote work. And that brings us kind of to like, if we're following the history with COVID, like if you really want to get mad, and for me, if I really want to get angry, I just look at the price of like even this land. Look at it in 2019 or 2018. It was literally like a third the price just 5 years ago. Mind-boggling. And I think we're on a very weird like precipice, because I think things have to drop. It has to go to zero, because you know, looking at my son, he's a year old. Where is this going to be because I'm 29 right now. Where is this going to be in 28 years? Like, is he going to be able to even afford anything? Is every house going to be $2 million? And so like I know that, and so this is kind of an interesting thing, is I know I can make it. I know I'm strong enough, resourceful enough to do whatever the fuck we need to do. But I want to have the best life for my kids. And so this kind of leads me to a weird like reality where it's like, okay, America is still great for making money, but it kind of feels like a prison camp. It feels like the rat race is enclosing on you from all sides. Even if you work for your own self, like I've run my own business for the last 5 years. I haven't had a single boss tell me anything. I can do whatever the fuck I want to do. Right now it's, I think, 4 o'clock on a Friday. Made some videos today, scheduled some jobs, been walking around here, digging in the dirt on the land, and it's been awesome. I love it. I love working out just with my hands. But it's just like, what do I do for my son? How do I set up the best life for my family? And so we're thinking set up a home base here. Ideally, I'd love to get some friends and family members out here on this land too. So that's another thing. We've also been sold this fucking lie that we all need to be doing these things ourselves. Like you need to have your own house, you need to have your own car, you need to have all this stuff yourselves. And I'll see people like, you know, I think I heard you hear people like the Arabs or Jews, they'll all like own one car, and they'll all just share it as a family. they'll buy a nice sports car, and then they'll just like share it. And so I really like the mentality, but we've kind of been told in America, like, you need this, you need that. Oh, you're living with your parents. Boo, like that's stupid. Like as soon as 18, you're out on your own. That's what my dad always told me. And so let's walk a little bit more. Get the juices flowing. There's some weird sticker bushes over here. But man, just look at this. Beautiful, beautiful trees. It's a bit of a drive out here. It's like 30 minutes outside the city. And like I said, there's absolutely nothing here. But it is my land, so therefore it is the best land. It's the best. So where are we going with that? Talking about building, talking about future, talking about what the frick is a man to do. I think I'm just gonna sit by this tree, at the base of this tree, over here now. As you can see, I have a lot of ADHD. I don't like this spot. There's a better stump over here. Yeah, camera angles are good and the lighting's good. Been hitting the gym a lot. I haven't gone to the gym in the last month, but I built a bench press and squat rack out of my own lumber. So that was awesome. You guys can watch those videos elsewhere on the channel. But all this shit that we're told, you need to buy this, you need to consume. Consumerism is the perfection of slavery. I saw someone talking about this. And it's true, because if you get people to work, if you put people in cages and make them slaves, put chains on them, they're going to want to escape. They're going to get out. They're going to know that they're slaves. But when you teach people like, hey, go to work, pay taxes, do all this stuff, and you're in America, you're in the land of the free. And you're still a fucking slave, dude. Doesn't really matter how they dress it up. Like, it's just so blatantly obvious at this point that, you know, whoever you voted for, this and that, none of that shit fucking matters. It's all a circus game. If you guys have read the book, The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I've made this reference like once or twice before, but if you read the book, in the beginning, they have the president of the galaxy is like on a speed chase. Like he's speeding through on a speedboat through the ocean. He's on the run from the police. He's the president. He's the president of the galaxy, but he's a major criminal. And they talked about like, oh, and this book was written like the 80s or 90s. And they're like, oh, well, the president is actually, his real only job is to keep people focused on him so they don't actually know what's going on. They're too distracted by just watching what the president is doing. And dude, I was like, dude, this book is spot on. Like, I think the rest of the book, I didn't get a ton out of it, but I remember that. And I remember like, holy crap, this is literally Donald Trump. You know, like, I voted for Trump, obviously, would vote for him again. But you'd have to be a fool not to be like, okay, this is obviously a massive circus show. And, you know, it's just, we're in a weird spot where, like, is America really free? I would argue in some ways it is, in some ways it's not. We go down to Mexico every winter. You can do whatever the fuck you want down there. You can have as many fireworks as you want. You can drink beer outside. You can't even drink beer outside in America. And we're proud of this so-called freedom. We're free. We're the freest country. It's like you can't even drink a beer outside. That doesn't sound free to me. And so it's all these weird things you can't really speak out loud because people will be like, oh, you're going crazy, or you're a liberal pussy if you say America's not free. And it's just like all this shit, like people are just fighting amongst each other. And so getting back, let's get off the politics rant for a second. As men, there's really only a few things we can do in life. And that is work, that is provide for our family, that is protect our families, and provide the best lives that we can. And so, like I said, the only logical conclusion I've reached, get cheap land, build something, and then travel. So we're going to travel through the winter. We're going to go to Mexico, maybe even Panama, visit some friends. Our boy Adam Chapman is down there. Shout out to him. He's built a great home service business as well. And yeah, continue the home service stuff because I think, like I said, it's still one of the best ways you can make money. Because another thing is looming over the mountains is this AI boom. Everyone's like, oh, 2027, like AI is going to take over. And some of my good friends work in tech, and like a lot of the tech layoffs, they're just hiring Indians. They're just shipping in Indians by the boatload to take over all these cushy jobs. And it sucks because people went to school for many years to become software engineers, and now their job is completely gone just by AI and, you know, overseas work. And so it's a weird time. And I think still the AI is never going to replace, you know, men working with their hands. We're always going to need people to work the land, farm, grow food, build houses, clean roofs, do gutters, and all that stuff. So that is like where I see the markets going, is be able to make money on yourself. And also too, this is another thing that I've been kind of really thinking about, is like maybe even becoming a fireman or something, because having an extra job with extra benefits would be kind of cool. I personally still am just like very, very hardcore like entrepreneur. Like I like to make my own money. It's kind of my own ego. And you know, we can still make good money, but at this point it's really about getting to the next step, building a house. And you know, I'm just kind of sharing my personal journey, because I know, you know, maybe this will be helpful for some of you guys who are just like what do I do? Like I'm making good money, or maybe not making as much money as you'd like to be making. And it's still like, I know guys making very good money. Like I know guys they're still doing the coaching thing. Because yeah, I did very well with coaching. I don't do it anymore. Now we sell just software. Like if you guys need help with your business and you want the software that runs it, like go high level, we can get you that discounted account, literally just like $100 a month. So that's another thing that we do on the side. And so I'm still just trying to figure out what is the best path. How can I be an example for guys like you and me and my son? You know, a lot of life changes too when you have a kid. It becomes so much less about all this other bullshit, like the nicest cars, boats. Like I see so many people online, it's like they're just buying all this shit and they're not investing in their family. And in my book, I'd rather have a much bigger family than have like all the nicest toys and stuff. Because yeah, having kids, like dude, I've been up since like 6 a.m. The first like 3 hours of my day was spent just watching my son. And you know, it's a lot of work. And so I'm getting kind of hungry. Probably end this video here pretty soon. I think nicotine gum always makes me like get hungry for some reason. But anyways, I think we kind of touched on all the points I wanted to. You know, American Dream is still here for those willing to get out there and build it. It's not fucking easy. And another interesting thing is the U.S. Homesteading Act of 1865, I believe. This was the where you could get up to 160 acres if you moved west, improved the land for 5 years, then you could live on it. And then the land was given to you. The last person claimed the 160 acres, I believe, in like the 80s, and which blows my mind, dude. Telling me right now that you could get 160 acres for free if you just lived on it and worked on it. Don't even want to think about that, because I would kill for 160 acres if I just was able to get that. And now you see, you know, people like the boomers, they literally just got all this essentially free land they paid nothing for, and now it's worth millions of dollars. And it's weird times, dude. So maybe we got to go to Ukraine, got to go to the Philippines, got to travel around, still make American money. And yeah, that's kind of where I'm at so far. So if you guys like this video, this type of content, just kind of walking around, hanging out, you know, next time I'll get the bench press out here. We'll be doing some reps and just building shit. So that is where we're at. Follow along for the journey. If you guys want any help with your home service business, so then you can buy your own land, build stuff, we're going to be putting out a lot more content about, you know, building, travel, just living a more free life. Because I still think this is the best way. Like when I see people talk about freedom, they're usually living in like Dubai or Miami in like a $15,000 per month apartment, making good money. But it's like, dude, I don't know, man. That never resonated with me. This resonates with me. Fucking trees and dirt. I've always wanted to live outside on my own land, do my own thing. This is what I believe is the American dream. So see you guys in the next video. Much love. Have a great, blessed day. See you there. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to the Spencer Clay Show. That's all for now. See you in the next episode. Peace.